Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth Alpha and the first pass for the Discipline Priest. And yes, it's a male goblin, and his name is Cheap Heels, even though we had much better names after I made it. And I'm sorry for I have sinned, I guess. I don't know. I also messed up too. I'm a very pale white guy. I'm not gonna wear a white shirt. I'm trying to wear like a colored shirt for the first class week. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm wearing the Taezilyn Evito shirt because the T&E shirt makes sense for Discipline Priest. Also, I'm recording this on April 1st, so it all makes sense with Discipline. And there is sort of an elephant in the room or a storm cloud brewing as the current changes to Discipline are interesting. The core of the spec is the same. But one very key change will either make it like old Discipline, which you either loved or hated, or make it like old Discipline, which is either OP or awful. So we'll see about that during this video, of course. If you're new to the channel, hello, random moose friend. If you're new to the channel, of course, right here on YouTube, you can subscribe right here to keep up to date with all of the testing, first pass, second pass, dungeons, island explorations, warfronts, etc. coming to the channel over the next many, many months before we launch. And then, of course, all of the live shows that come out after that. You can go follow my Twitch channel, linked down below as well, if you want to be there for the live testing streams. If you've missed those, though, it'll, of course, be archived here. Just for the first passes, the archives for the second pass will be on Twitch. And then, of course, hit me up on Twitter if I've done something horribly wrong, or if I missed something, or there's some math that we're incorrect on, etc., etc. I appreciate it, nevertheless. So, Discipline. There are some core changes to go over here that we will walk through. I'm going to go over what's been removed right off the bat, because the builds that are currently on Wowhead, I think, and MMO Champions WoW DB are not updated. So right out of the gate, you have lost, which I don't think anyone's really going to cry about this. So Clarity of Will, aka Cow, gone. The Sanctuary talent, gone. Shadow Covenant, also gone. Power Infusion, gone. You guessed it. And Plea is gone. However, the functionality of Plea, and this is why this is a big change to Discipline to be either OP or awful, or what you liked or what you hated, the functionality of Plea is essentially rolled into Power Word Shield. Because yes, you are reading that right. There is no Weakened Soul, as there is none in Legion right now, and there is no cooldown on Power Word Shield. Let that sink in for a moment. Just exactly. So no cooldown means that it's much weaker than it is on live. Much, 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 much weaker than it is on live. But it is your way to apply Atonement as you would do with Plea right now. And Plea, arguably, is also very weak on live currently as well. It's just an enabler, right? It is just an enabler and how the spec works at the end of the day. But there are some other things that are core to this, like your new mastery. So Reverence. So your old mastery Absolution has been removed, which is the scaling atonement multiplier. So now Reverence increases the damage part of your offensive penance, right? Just the damage it does. The absorption of Power Word Shield. And the healing of Shadow Mend. So the damage of penance, sure, why not? It's our core spell, should scale with something. The healing of Shadow Mend, yeah, that's fine. It's our other sort of option in how we heal. The scaling on Power Word Shield, though. Some of your eyebrows are twitching right now. I can feel it in the comments section from here. And that is interesting, because the last time we had scaling Power Word Shield, what did Discipline Priests do in entire expansion? They bound every button to Power Word Shield and rolled their face on their keyboard. However, comparing this to live, and yes, this is because of the spell power coefficients being changed, because of the scaling being changed, yada, 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 this and that other thing. The spell power coefficient, to put in perspective for Power Word Shield on live right now, is 550% of your int, which is your spell power, right? It's only 100% now. And the way I'm thinking about this is that they being in this case Blizzard and the devs and the math team behind all this stuff, They want Powered Shield to be what it was. This functionality, follow-up or preemptive use of a global cooldown that has a slight absorb and applies Atonement. That being said, if it ever gets to a point where all you do is spam it, all they can do is just lower the spell power coefficient on it. It'll still then scale with your mastery, sure, but it will definitely not be as egregious as it used to be in the past. But that is, of course, to be seen. We'll have to wait and see about that. But that goes into play with how Rapture works now. So the other part of this two-sided coin, which I think is that I think Blizzard wants you to have powerful powered shields. So Rapture now on a 1.5 minute cooldown moved down from 2 minutes for 8 seconds off the global cooldown, by the way. Rapture is not on the global cooldown as I pop it real quick. For 8 seconds, your powered shields will absorb an additional 200%. That's triple the value, right? Because 100% is double, 200% is triple, etc. So in this window of time, at a normal global cooldown, you'll get 5 shields, up to 8 at a 1 second global cooldown, which doesn't seem that powerful. It's a momentary power spike, of course, definitely a momentary one, but that is a core possible function that they want to try to balance that its utility outside of Rapture, it's a bit of a targeted cooldown within Rapture. Because Rapture can also be done that because Cow is gone, right? Clarity of Will. That you can use Rapture and the empowered powered shield state on tank healing or on some debuff. Because it just, powered shield just flatly, always on cast, gives you the full amount of the shield, right? That's all it does. And if it crits, which I'm waiting for a crit right now, it just gives you double the amount. So if you triple the amount during Rapture, and then it crits and you just spam it. If you're using it to, like, say, soak some debuff on a tank or prep a tank for a tank swap or some soak mechanic, whatever, right? Some debuff, some dot, some AoE coming out, etc. The use of just hitting raptured powered shields just on the global is probably going to be really effective in that window of time on one person, maybe 2 people. And that could be a very good thing if you're balanced around that window and not the fact that powered shield eventually scales out of control. We'll see about that, because the old playstyle used to be just powered shield every single target nonstop forever. That's all it used to be, but we'll see how that shakes out in the future. But regardless, the overall style of discipline is the same. You're going to see really crazy numbers on this target dummy. It's the only one I can attack right here that I put myself in combat all awkwardly. This is the morale booster dummy. It takes 100,000% more damage. However, it's scaled damage. So when I actually atonement heal, for example, it doesn't scale out of control with the damage that I'm doing. It properly doesn't take into account the 100,000% damage amp, right? That's how it is. Additionally, focused will remains. Excuse me. Atonement is now a baseline passive and at 40%. So there's no scaling to it. It's always just 40% of your spell damage being done heals the targets that have atonement on it, right? So there's a powered shield, deal some damage, there's the atonement healing. Put the Shadow Word Pain up there, hit the smites, right? But there's no scaling potential on that. It's going to be very flat. Obviously, as your mastery scales, your penance will always scale with your atonement because the damage quotient goes up. Not the single target healing of it will never go up with your mastery. That's just spell power inverse. So keep that in mind, of course. But the functionality of smite remains the same. It has that weird, like, damage, anti-damage absorb that stacks 3 times, but they don't say it stacks 3 times in the tooltip, but that's still there. Shadow Word Pain is still the on cast damage, and then the shadow damage over 14 seconds now. They have reduced it's 18 seconds tick rate on live. It's 14 seconds in Battle for Azeroth, so a little more maintenance has to be taken, but it also does differentiate that from Purge the Wicked, which is the longer form trickle heal, but the spread mechanic is still there on Purge the Wicked, right? That's unchanged. You can purge the wicked on one target, penance that target, it'll spread. You can penance the new spread target, that'll spread, etc., etc., etc. It lasts 20 seconds, so it sets them apart a little bit differently in the core of the class there. Shadowmen still has the heal and then the hot, or the anti-hot, the dot, right? That will do half of the healing as a damage sort of over time, but any other sources of damage that the target with that takes, it just goes away anyway. It doesn't have to be taking damage from the Shadowmend itself. And this, of course, will scale because of your mastery. So the more healing your Shadowmend will do, the more that dot will tick down. You have to actually get yourself in combat for this to see it, because it does work on the priest itself. I thought it didn't at first, but it definitely does. But any other damage you take will remove the dot immediately, right? So if I get smacked, it goes away instantly, right? That is still very much part of how this works. So that is unchanged. And your power word Radiance is still the 2 charges, still the 60% duration of Atonement, still the 30 yards, castable within 40, still the 18-second recharge, 2 charges, all that stuff remains the same. On the core kit, your power word Barrier is the same. Your Penance is still the same as well, unaffected by haste, 9-second cooldown. All your utility is the same, right? So you added in the utility kit, you have your power word Fortitude back. But Psychic Scream's the same, Purify is the same, Resurrection, Shackle, Undead, all that good stuff. Shadow Fiend lasts 15 seconds base now, brought up from 12. But Shadow Fiend by itself is just a DPS / healing cooldown, where you put out your atonements, and then you have your Shadow Fiend smacking away, adding more healing going into the trickle effect. So much more potent in sort of an AoE situation because of how the scaling might work on Shadow Fiend. And it still, of course, gets upgraded to the Mindbender, which has the mana return, but goes back to the 12-second duration, but does attack faster with your haste, etc. 1 minute cooldown. That is unchanged. But everything else is still there. Leap of Faith as the same cooldown it is on live. Let me double check my other notes here. Mass Dispel got hit pretty hard, so it added 30 seconds to the cooldown. So it's 15 seconds on live. It's now 45 seconds currently, which is pretty ridiculous. Again, Rapture and Pain Suppression unchanged, still off the global cooldown. You do have Desperate Prayer added in. This came up as a topic during the stream about, will Disciplined Priests be better in Mythic Plus situations? And the reason why Holy Paladin and Resto Druid are so strong right now is because A, Bear Form, all that effective health gain, right? The efficiency with just a shift in to not die to explosions or dots or whatever, and then shift out and heal, versus extra HP on a Holy Paladin, plate armor for damage mitigation, more on-demand stun control, and of course the bubble, right? Bubble and bop. So Desperate Prayer coming into play here for Disciplined Priest will be interesting because it has the last stand mechanic and the instant heal. This could definitely help, considering that Mythic Plus right now, after a certain point, gets tough for the Shadow Priest, or the Disciplined Priest rather, because all you do is spam Shadow Mend. That's what my brain was going for there. You just eventually end up just spamming Shadow Mend on everyone, which now that it scales with your mastery, and of course your int behind the scenes and your versatility and stuff like that, that could still be a thing, but at least has a scaling portion and not just the version of mastery you have now. And that is it for the baseline changes. Everything else is the same. Outside of, again, that's the biggest hit. I wonder how that's going to feel. Mind control, mind vision, all that stuff is right there. The other big notable changes, I guess, in the scaling portion of this is that Halo and Divine Star. Halo still has the I'm going to aggro everything within 30 yards of me thing in dungeons, so good luck using it. But Halo and Divine Star on live right now are disproportionately balanced, where, let me double check real quick for you. So Divine Star heals for less and deals more damage. Halo also heals for less and deals more damage. They have been, in this current build, they've been 1-to-1. So Halo is very much, it heals for and deals the same amount of damage regardless of the effect. Halo and Divine Star still only give you 1 hit of atonement on the first damage source. I'll show you over here. So no matter if you have, I'll put some powered shields out so I get multiple targets with atonement though. Who else is here? Some warlocks. But here's your Halo cast. So you will get your 3 hits of atonement, of course, when you cast Halo for the targets and myself there. And then you only get, you don't get like a atonement hit per cast, but as you see here, all the damage and the healing, there's a warlock there getting more healing, but this is all normalized, right? So you got 1103, all of these attacks and all the damage going out as well. Oh, I had atonements over there from the previous set. Look down here. Yeah, I was confusing myself. Let me do that. The damage and the healing is the same versus live right now where it's different. And the same thing for Divine Star. Same thing, only 1 hit of atonement on the first damage out, but obviously the healing out and back in. So I wonder how these will scale compared to Purge the Wicked, and if you'll be able to actually use these and feel their impact a little better than what they do now because of their weird scaling potential where they're more for damage, but you only get 1 atonement of them. So they've squished that for the Discipline Priest, which I imagine it might be the same thing for Holy as well, which could be really good as well. They don't really use it for the damage, though. They use it for the healing. So that is the same with this tier. You have the same Schism, Twist of Fate, Castigation. Those are the same. I have Body and Soul talented right now, but because Powered Shield has no cooldown, this is actually OP as heck. And I don't think this has been looked at yet. Masochism remains the same, where the Shadow Mend dot is actually a hot, and you take 10% reduced damage while it is on you, which lasts for a pretty long time, actually. I think that's like 8 seconds. Or 10 seconds, yeah. You get that 10-second DR. You don't even need to have the dot. Never mind. I misspoke there. You don't even need to have you just have a 10% DR, essentially. Whereas Body and Soul will probably see some change because you're not going to be able to keep spamming this. They're probably going to put it as a... maybe a cooldown on it, or it only works on every so many powered shields, or it's a chance. I don't know. Because Angelic Feather is still here, but that's for giving someone else movement speed and like prepping the feathers. But again, Body and Soul can just be spammed. So the priest sprint is real, which is kind of ridiculous. The mana tier here, we want to have Mindbender already as being unchanged. And scales with your haste, attacks faster, etc. Shield Discipline and Power Word Solace have not been touched yet. So Power Word Solace is still the atonement, where you can still get the additional benefit of having that instant cast. Right? And you get that atonement heal and 1% max mana. But Shield Discipline is still 1% max mana, and whenever a Powered Shield is fully absorbed, you get 1% max mana back. The current build is 2% mana for a Powered Shield cast, so... this basically cuts Powered Shield's effective mana cost in half passively, which is way too good. So you need to buff Powered Solace ridiculously, because Mindbender is probably fine. Roughly gives you 5 to 6 to 7% of your mana back every minute, which is actually pretty good. But Shield Discipline's gonna be way too good because you just spam Powered Shields on everyone. You get a Powered Shield, you get a Powered Shield, even you get a Powered Shield. You can't, because they're, you know, it's a critter. You get one, and you get one, and you get one. You know what I mean? Like, you can do this all day. And if all those keep getting eaten up completely, you save half the mana cost per spell. So this is probably fine, but way too powerful in comparison to this, only giving you 5 or 6% mana a minute, where this is literally on the global cooldown. And so Solace needs something. So we'll see if this tier gets looked at. So keep an eye on this tier for that. Shining Force is still really good. Psychic Voice as well as Dominant Mind, all still definitely there. Keep in mind Shining Force across the board if you're following the rest of the alpha progression and the videos here. A lot of stuns, snares, slows, whatever, have all been cut down drastically. So Shining Force's 70% snare and knockback is quite powerful. But it's still the same, like 15 to 12 yard boop on level terrain. I did it earlier today on the live stream, and it was really funny because the angle was just enough to send a critter and then a testing friend off the ledge over this whole stairwell there. But it still has the same knockback potential where boop. There it goes. Sorry, Temple Beetle. That's unfortunate. I'm going to assume that all of these spell animations and effects are the same as they are on live, just if you need to hear them real quick. Here's your Smite. And your Shadowed Pain. And Penance. And again, I think these are all the same. Let me know in the comments down below if they are. I'm pretty sure they are the same. Barrier is on the global cooldown. Rapture and Pain Suppression are not. Psychic Scream, of course, is. All that kind of good stuff. But that's an interesting tier right there. We'll see if that goes and changes. So you have some new talents. You have 4 new talents. We'll go over your 75s right now. They're a little buggy, and they don't really work properly. But you have Lenience. My brain wants to always say Leniency. There's no Y there. So this is your artifact trait rolled forward. That Atonement reduces damage taken by 3%. So as long as you have the Atonement buff on yourself, you are taking 3% less damage. Currently, it doesn't tell you you're getting that at all anywhere. It doesn't roll into the tooltip, so you don't know, and it's not clear. So hopefully that does get updated. But that's a huge potential DR because of the fact that you can, you obviously can Radiance and cover a lot of people in your group. And because Power and Shield is just failable on the global cooldown, you can spread more Atonements preemptively before damage comes out to reduce it as well. Then you have Orison, which is that Power Word Shield will instantly heal the target for an amount. So this basically just brings back and rolls Plea in baseline. So now you have both Power Word Shield and Plea's really tiny heal, just for an extra on the move little bonus there if you enjoyed that style, which is fine. It could see use. It could potentially be the lifesaver in certain situations. I'm not sure, but it does give you a spammable heal essentially too on the global cooldown if that's worth it or not. And then Contrition, let me proc and twist the fate here. Contrition is interesting. I'm going to talent into Castigation as well, which is the extra bolt of holy light during the duration. Contrition is that when you heal with Penance, everyone with your Atonement is healed for an amount. This has 2 components. If you single target heal with Penance, it doesn't work. Because it's not... Really? It definitely had to work. It worked today. Hang on. For some reason, when I was toggling back and forth with Contrition, it was working or not working. Yeah. It's not working now. Let me see if I can do the reverse version of it. Let me see. Dang it. It's just totally busted. It was staying active forever when I was testing earlier today, even when I didn't have it talented, and now it's just not going to work. So the 2 components are, if you have Atonements out, like I just did with Radiance, right? And then you cast a Penance, you're going to get the Atonement heal, but then you'll also get a Contrition heal as well. So it almost adds an extra layer of AoE healing, or if you Penance a single target defensively, you'll get an extra Penance heal on top of it, right? You have to have the atoned, right? So there we go. Oh, wait, did it work? It's turned back on? I think it turned back on. It turned back on. What? There it goes. Or was I doing it wrong the whole time? I don't... So, when you heal with Penance, everyone with your Atonement is healed. So, it won't work offensively. I had the wrong... I targeted the wrong damn dummy. I have to heal this dummy, and then it'll work. There it is. Yeah. So, when you heal with that, you'll get some splash healing. Or when you heal a single target with Atonement, you'll double up on it. So, you'll get Contrition and Penance. Whoops. There we go. I just toggled over to this guy instead. Well, I mean, that shows also, too, that it has to be the heal, right? That's not broken. But this is interesting because it automatically makes Castigation stronger because you get 4 ticks instead of 3. And it gives you a little bit of an extra benefit if you have to Radiance but then heal a actual target. You still get some weaker Atonement healing. Essentially, it just scales with your spell power and versatility. Or it gives you the amplified single target heal. There we go. We got there. Sorry about that. So, these are interesting. I think Orison is probably the weakest one but that could be just because I'm not a main healer. I don't know the impact this could have. Whereas Lenience or Lenense or whatever it is, these are all Latin words apparently, is very potentially powerful for like the Rapture window, etc., for really taking a lot of extra DR off your party or your raid group or certain in particular people. But outside of that, Evangelism, unfortunately, is on the global cooldown now, as you'll watch right here. Yep, you still have your wings that cast when you cast it, but same cooldown reduction and extends the duration of all your currently cast atonements by 6 seconds. So normally this works well in the currently Light's Wrath style of play, where if you are bombing a lot of raid healing, you don't need to couple this with Light's Wrath, but because it adds on the extra duration and couples well with Powered Radiance, because Radiance only has 60% of the duration of Atonement, only has 9 seconds down from 15. Evangelism does give you that extra little oomph, or it just gives you the extra oomph on a single target. Like if you're, or your 5-man group, right? You would just Powered Shield them all, and then Evangelism, and then you get more time to DPS and AoE heal them if need be. That is still very much the case, but it's all on the global cooldown now, unfortunately, for all those that are worried about that. Grace doesn't work right now with the potential bonuses of Orison and Contrition, because Grace is the same, so it increases your non-atonement healing and absorption by 30% on targets with atonement. So this works very easily, that if you Powered Shield someone and then Powered Shield them again, or hit them with a Shadow Mend, let's trailer that now. Like if I hit myself with a Powered Shield, it's obviously 1788, and do it again, it'll amplify that up by 30%. So we're at the 46, oh, the 20, there we go, crit, yeah, so 2325 is the amount. Or of course, if you Shadow Mend the target and do the same thing, it'll go away immediately, but still, you'll see the Shadow Mend is on there, and then whoop, get the 4650. That was a crit. So you get that there. So Grace does that situation, and of course, you can directly heal that person for more as well. But as you see here, the Contrition heal is not scaling with that, because the Contrition heal is tied to Atonement in its functionality, but it has nothing to do with actually Atonement healing. It's listed as Contrition, whereas Grace has no synergy with. It's all non-atonement based stuff, which Contrition is not atonement based. It's tied to it, but we'll see if that works. It doesn't work with Orison either, which it should. It should buff the on-target heal, but it doesn't at all right now, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to get the same 1260, 1261, 630, 630, 630. So there might be something in the code right now that they have to work out to make these synergize with Grace, because both of these have potential to be interesting in the AoE category, single target category, right? And this is just flat DR. But we'll see if that gets fixed, because I don't know if that's supposed to be there or not. Your other new talent is Luminous Barrier. This replaces Powered Barrier. Again, Powered Barrier by default is still the bubble you throw down that is a 10-second duration, 25% DR in the bubble, and prevents damage delaying spell casting unless you're a Void Elf. Horde salty about that one, maybe. I don't know, probably not. Who cares? 3-minute cooldown, 40-yard range, castable. This replaces it completely and basically makes it Revival Bubble. So it has instant cast, 3-minute cooldown, same as Barrier does as well, but it is a 40-yard instant bubble like this on the global cooldown. So whereas Revival is a reactionary Mistweaver ability where you take damage and you revival, this Luminous Barrier is a damage is coming, crackle in 3, 2, Luminous Barrier, crackle. Avoiding and stopping damage from happening is still better than taking the damage still and reacting to it, even if you're reducing it with Barrier. But Barrier is clumped up. Luminous Barrier is 40 yards from the Priest. So spread out cooldown version versus the clumped up cooldown version, which is quite interesting. There is a lot of talk about how it's barely more powerful than a Powered Shield right now on scaling. Powered Shield is 1788 and this is 1891. But again, it's going to hit your entire raid group, but it has nothing. It doesn't put atonement on anything at any reduced duration. So the talk was that evangelism is going to happen twice per Luminous Barrier, So what's still better? Is it better to just to Radiance Evangelism and react to damage? Or is it better to preemptively stop the damage? The coupling part of this is that, I got put in combat somehow. The weird part of this is that Luminous Barrier, and how, if you're playing a Disciplined Priest or you play a healer, you know how absorbs work. If you actually have damage reductions, again, why also Lenience is really strong, because any damage reductions, shield walls, or astral shifts, etc., increase the potency of absorbs. So if you have a Holy Paladin, pops Devo Aura, and everyone's taking 20% less damage, and you also Luminous Barrier, that essentially buffs Luminous Barrier's absorb by 20%. Because that's how, if you ever did, what was his name, Tortos back in Throne of Thunder, that was when this whole meta came up, that his Stomp did your entire HP bar, right? So you needed to have a absorb to not die to it, or any DR. And if you noticed, certain specs will be able to get a powered shield from your Disciplined Priest at the time or whatever, and then you pop your own defensive, and you'll not even get chunked at all. Because that DR, that 30%, that 50%, that whatever, has to go, and it amplifies the shield's amount of damage it can absorb, and then it goes into your face. So the potential bonus of how Luminous Barrier can work coupled with other healer abilities is interesting. Obviously, of course, putting a actual powered barrier inside of a SLT, for example, or whatnot is still the thing, but clumped versus spread is quite interesting. But overall, that is the Disciplined Priest. Here's your bubble one more time. Whoa. It might be a bug that the barrier does not stay as long as the actual absorb is on you. I put that in my report, as well as like a half-page other stuff, right? So we'll see if that gets updated, because the barrier should stay animated on your character model, so you know you have the absorb, instead of just like going once and then disappearing. I think anyway, for clarity's sake, it should. But we'll have to wait and see what that happens. That could just be an animation desync somewhere in there. Give me your comments down below if you play Discipline, if you think they'll be a little bit more powerful in Mythic Plus scene, or what you think of the changes. I like the Halo and Divine Star baseline one-to-oneing. That's interesting. The potential of Luminous Barrier is curious. I don't know how I can keep putting combat. I think I'm just healing someone else that's nearby and whatnot. It's okay. I want to... He just stands like... I broke earlier today, Alpha, and I couldn't not stand like this. Oh, gosh. If it's your first time to the channel, welcome. Subscribe if you want to see all of the upcoming coverage for all the different pre-specs, all the first passes to come, second passes closer to launch, Warfronts, Island Adventures, etc. You can check out the Twitch live stream and be a part of the testing and help me with the math and all the minutia between all the different specs. Or hit me up on Twitter if I've done a terrible mistake, or if there's any math that I may have missed. Or if you want to be updated on when these streams are going live. I always tweet and post when the stream is up. Thank you very much for watching. I will definitely be checking your comments for Disciplined Priest feedback. In before Powered Shield OP, and all you'll be doing again is this. Who's ready for this to come back? Yeah! Heckin' sweet gameplay! Cataclysm and Mop, then Wrath of the Lich King, I think, style Disciplined Priest. Don't make this happen, Blizzard. You can do it. We'll try. It's been taking 3 expansions, whatever. Disciplined Priest. Thank you all for watching.